Hello, lovely followers of the Quantum Life. Today is day 66, and what I want to talk about today, I've written a huge amount of notes for, so I'm just going to make sure that they're all in the right order. Right, I think we're in the right order. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about parallel universes. Now, this is another subject that absolutely fascinates me. I'm fascinated by the idea that there's parallel universes, that there's an infinite number of yourself in different universes that have made different choices. So I'm literally just going to read off my notes what I've written, and hopefully you'll be as fascinated as I am as well. Okay, so the idea that everything's made up of tiny particles originated with a great philosopher who was called Luca Pise in the 5th century. Now, atoms are too small for humans to see. They're infinite, and they come in many varieties. And even though we can't see the atoms themselves, we can see the products of them colliding. That creates something that can be seen. Quantum physics describes the smallest things in our universe, like molecules, atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons, etc. So our bodies, our pets, our furniture, it's all made from quantum physics. So quantum physics says that the universe is random, so we can't know anything that's going to happen, but we can predict it using something called wave function. Now, a man called Niels Bohr, he had an interpretation that was theoretically proven by a Viennese physicist called Erwin Schrödinger in 1935. You may or may not have heard of it. It's the cat in the box experiment. So basically how it worked was, he theorised that if you put a cat in a box with radioactive material and you have a Geiger counter next to it, that will trigger a hammer to break the bottle inside the box that contains hydrocyanic acid. So when the Geiger counter senses that there's a decay in the radioactive material that's in the box with the cat, it will cause the hammer to break the bottle, which would then kill the cat with the acid. So the cat in the box existed in an unknowable state because it wasn't being observed, so they didn't know at that point whether it's alive or dead. So the cat's fate was tied to a random event, and it may occur or it may not occur. So he said, what if this applies to everything, not just objects being observed, but objects we can't observe, and the observers themselves as well? That would mean that the universal wave function would contain branches for every alternative scenario for every person, animal, or object in the universe. Branches that actually act independent of one another and don't influence each other at all. So they journey on towards different future. So to put simply, there could be an unknown number of yous out there, all making different choices and living different lives, and things that different choices that propel you towards a completely different life. Max Tegmark, a professor at MIT, he put forth the idea that there are 4 distinct types of parallel universes, and type 3 is the one that we're most familiar with, and that's called the mirrored universe. So the many worlds theory of quantum mechanics says that for every possible quantum option, there's another universe in which that option is realised. So think of all the decisions that you've ever encountered, and for each one of those, there's a different branch of what's happened from that. Now, there's quite a few movies that depict this. There's Family Man and Sliding Doors, and you may have seen them, which kind of like show you making a different decision, or as in Sliding Doors, the doors closed and she missed it in one universe, and in another she caught it, and both scenarios led to completely different lives just from that split second. So having that kind of insight into how your life would be different if you made different choices is absolutely fascinating. Over 13 billion years ago, everything was an infinite singularity. The universe that we know began as an infinitely hot and dense single point before it burst into action, inflating and stretching, at first incredibly fast and then slowing down, and it continues to expand to this day. And as a consequence of this growth, a massive fireball of radiation formed, creating atoms, molecules, stars, galaxies and planets. We know this as the Big Bang Theory. Because of this, it's led many scientists to believe that multiple universes are not only possible, but probable. Cosmic inflation may have ended in our galaxy, but it continues on in other places, and when that inflation ends, a new universe forms. This is kind of just like a brief overview, but it shows how something like this is possible. I don't know if you've heard of the Mandela Effect. Now, I remember I physically, with my own eyes, saw Nelson Mandela's funeral on the television in the 1980s when I was quite young. I vividly remember it. And then in 2013, when I heard that he died, I was really surprised because I thought he'd already died in the 1980s while he was in prison. And on researching it, obviously there's a lot of people who witness the same thing and believe the same thing. And the idea for the Mandela Effect is that you've crossed timelines into another parallel universe in which in one he died in 1980s, whatever date it was, and in another he died in 2013, and so many people have the same memory, and all that many people can't be wrong. And that's why it's called the Mandela Effect, because of the Nelson Mandela and hundreds and thousands of people remembering it differently. But there's also other items under the Mandela Effect that have changed. The Berenstain burns now are the Berenstain burns, and a lot of people remember Berenstain, and that's changed. There's so many examples. If you don't know many, go and look them up because they're absolutely fascinating. And like I say, if it's something that you remember, but it's different, it's mind-boggling. Like the Monopoly Man, I always saw him with a monocle on, and apparently he's never had a monocle on, and I'm blown away by that as well. So that is crazy. Now, there are some people who have claimed that they've entered the parallel universes, and the change is small but big enough for it to be significant to them. There's a lady in Spain called Lorena Garcia Gardo. Now, in 2008, she claimed that she woke up in an alternate universe. It began when she noticed that little details in her home were different. So when she woke up, the bed sheets that were on her bed were different to what she went to bed in. And when she went outside, the car park that she usually parked in wasn't there. It was actually further down the street. She worked in the same office for 20 years, but when she got to the door that was her office, her name wasn't on there, it was somebody else's. She found that she did actually work there, but in a completely different department. She was in a relationship with a man who she remembers she'd broken up with 6 months prior. and she couldn't find any existence of the man that she was currently dating in the other universe. So maybe this happens to us. Do you know when you go to get something from somewhere and you vividly remember putting it there, and then you go to get it and it's not there, and you're kind of like, where's that gone? How's that moved? Where's it gone? Or things completely disappear. I've had that a lot with my items. They'll just completely disappear and I'll never see them again. So maybe when these little incidents happen, you could have crossed over into a parallel universe and not even realise. So I hope you're as fascinated by this as I am. But it just makes you think. You never know. I mean, there's lots of things that we can't see. I think we can only see 1% of what's actually out there. Like, we can't see certain lights, like infrared, we can't see ultraviolet, that kind of thing. So it just makes you wonder what is out there that we don't know about, or that we can't see, or that our human minds can't fathom. And it's fascinating. It's really fascinating. So let me know what your thoughts are on parallel universes, and I may come on again and talk about the other three theories of parallel universes. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to everybody soon. Bye bye.